just doing a little bit of content because I'm going through family photos, and I just found out who this gentleman was here. But this dapper down here, that's my granddaddy. The man in the middle, we do not know who he is. And I just found out that this was my grandfather's very best friend. His name was Dave, and his nickname was Spook. So we never called him, from the time I was itty bitty, we never called him Dave. We called him Spook. And Spook, I gotta go sit down. Spook traveled with the carnivals. He was the games operator. He probably took turns doing the rides as well, but he literally, I had my bed all covered in stuffies because from the time I was born, you know, my whole life, he would bring me a stuffed animal every year. He grew up with my grandfather way up north in a very small town, and when my grandfather moved from that town, Spook would come down every year because, like I said, he traveled with the carnival, or the fair, whatever you want to call it, and he would bring my grandfather's kids stuffed animals. And then when I was born, you know, he started bringing me them. And when my first son was born, 2 years, you know, the first year he brought my son some stuffies, the second year, and he started, he would always send Christmas cards, okay? Because, you know, he only came once a year for a visit, and my grandfather, in his later years, you know, all your friends start passing and either make new friends or, you know, you don't have very many friends at all the older you get. And my grandfather looked so much forward. Oh, I could remember it. We would, you know, clean up the house, and my grandmother would cook, and we were just waiting for Spook to come. And I always knew he was bringing stuffed animals. And every Christmas he would send Christmas cards. And so my son was born. He, you know, two summers in a row he brought the stuffies, and then that Christmas he sent a Christmas card to my grandmother and my grandfather, and it was a musical Christmas card, okay? And my grandmother had it on the piano, and she was funny. She, you know, she liked to leave everything up. You know, some old people, they like their cards and things like that. So that Christmas card, because it played music, she liked to leave it on the piano and just play it once in a while, you know, just hold it. It didn't get packed away or thrown in the garbage. So summer comes around, and so my son would have been turning 3, I believe. And summer rolls around, and we hadn't heard from Spook. So he had sent the Christmas card, and we hadn't heard from him. Now, keep in mind, he was kind of like he was a traveler. We didn't always know where he was living at. He changed. He didn't have no kids, no wife for his whole life. So he could have been here or there, anywhere. He was just literally a traveling man, well into his old age. But we did know that he was coming. We would anticipate he would be coming in summer. So summer rolls around, you know, and we figure, oh, he'll be here. I believe it was June or July, I'm not quite sure, that he'd be coming for a visit and he'd be bringing stuffed animals. And I was waiting because my grandfather wasn't very well. He had, at that time, he was going through colon cancer. And you know, I always liked for him to have his friend, you know, obviously. I wanted him to see his friend. And that summer, he didn't come. Spook didn't come for a visit. And my grandfather's, you know, demeanor was just, you know, he just figured he must be gone. You know, he's not with us anymore. And we, you know, got checking the obituaries and things like that. But again, he didn't have any family to put an obituary in the paper, or to contact us to say, hey, he's passed. We didn't have anything like that. So again, the times rolled around. He's not coming. And we're all sitting around going, well, I guess, I think it was the last day the fair was going to be in town, because usually the fair stayed in for 3 or 4 days or a whole week or whatever. And we were all sitting around, and we're in the living room where the card is, where the piano's at. And no word of a lie, the card, the musical card plays the music. No word of a lie. I mean, if I tell you all the strange happenings. And my grandmother said, well, I guess he's passed. And I said, I guess you're right. And he didn't come. And again, we had no way of knowing where or who or, what had happened with him. But he was great. And it was just he was just a genuinely nice man who stood by my grandfather all through his life. He was the guy. They did talk on the phone before, and then, as times changed, there was no cell phones. So my grandfather looked forward to that visit every year. Sometimes all it takes is one friend and one visit. Oh well, rip spook. We remember you. Bye.